A thrilling comeback, a win taken away on a controversial call, ending up in a shootout loss. Remember, I said, buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride this season. We'll get into all that and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast and YouTube show wrapping up the night in the NHL, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Well, the LA Kings played game number 12 of the NHL season as they returned home from a successful road trip where they went 4-0-1, and they were starting a challenging 4-game homestand with the Detroit Red Wings in town. Well, this game had a little bit of everything. It was hard fought. At times it was fun and thrilling. But it ends in what I would have to say is a bit of a disappointment. We're going to circle back to how all the game went down. We'll get into the details. But here's a quick recap. Kings started off well. I thought they were very competitive in a solid, matchup against another good team. Two sides were scoreless after one period, but it was a good period, I thought, for both sides. Second period, Kings took a 1-0 lead on a shorthanded goal by Alex Laferriere, but on the same power play, the Red Wings scored to tie it up at 1-1. Detroit then scored a second goal in the second period, and the Kings found themselves down 2-1 going into the third. Down by 2 late in the game, Kings pull goalie Darcy Kemper for the extra attacker and get a pair of Corey Perry goals to tie it up and send it into overtime. In the overtime, the Kings draw a penalty. They get a power play, and Kevin Fiala scores. However, the play was reviewed for goalie interference, and they waved it off. That was the second controversial call of the game that went against the Kings, and Detroit would end up winning in a shootout 4-3. Kings fall to 5-3-4 on their season. It's the 9th game this year the Kings have had go beyond regulation. And the Kings are still looking for their first win of the season at home. They're now 0-2-2 at Crypto.com Arena. So let us begin with the controversies. The takeaways from the two calls. The second call is what I want to start with because that's the one that, basically took a win away. We thought it decided the game. It ended up not being the case. But here's the situation. The Kings are on a 4-on-3 power play. Anze Kopitar puts a shot on net. Kevin Fiala is there, puts in a loose puck, and we thought that was it. Never for a second after I saw that did I think there was goalie interference. And you know who else didn't think there was goalie interference? The goalie, Cam Talbot, in net for Detroit. He never once looked at the referee. He never once waved his arms like that's no goal. He didn't complain about it. He immediately put his head down and skated off the ice. He was already going into the locker room when they said, hey, come back. They're reviewing the play. So if that doesn't tell you all you need to know about how this call was the wrong call, then I don't know what else to tell you. If the goalie who was interfered with doesn't think it's interference, I would say that's a pretty good indication that it wasn't. And I guarantee you the thought never entered Cam Talbot's mind that, I just got interfered with. That should not be a goal. Now, was there contact between Kevin Fiala and Cam Talbot? Yes, barely, but you can't say there wasn't contact. And was Kevin Fiala in the crease? He was. Who initiated the contact, though? It was Cam Talbot. He was moving from his right to his left. Kevin Fiala was in the crease. And was to me the biggest question is in all this, was Cam Talbot prevented from playing his position? Did the contact cause him not be able to make a save? The answer is absolutely not. Plus, the puck is loose in the crease, and the offensive player has every right to go after the puck. Now, I will say, I have seen the NHL do this before. It seems that they've decided, in an effort to make these sometimes controversial goalie interference plays as easy to understand or possibly to officiate. If there's contact in the crease, they don't care who initiates it, and they don't care if the goaltender was prevented from playing his position or not. They disallow the goal. So, from a consistency standpoint, it seems like they are consistent with this. But I could not disagree more with how they're calling this play. It is stupid, and it's counterproductive to what the NHL should be looking to do, which is providing more offense in games because people like more offense. They have made a slew of rule changes to help get more offense into the game, which is great. But this rule, that's part of why this rule is a stupid rule, or how the interpretation of this rule is dumb. And I don't want to hear, well, oh, they're protecting goalies. There was nothing in this play that endangered Cam Talbot in any way. I don't understand why there can't just be a common sense interpretation of what's going on, because that's not being applied right now. There is, or should be, something called incidental contact, regardless of the player in the crease or not. The goalie should not be allowed to initiate contact and get rewarded for that. Oh, by the way, this is the second time the Kings have had a goal taken away in a call like this. Warren Foegele had a goal waved off against Carolina because there was contact, although Foegele didn't make the contact. It was the goaltender that did, and he wasn't even in the crease when that happened. So this is a terrible interpretation of what goalie interference is, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Kings fan. I'm saying this because I'm a hockey fan. There was absolutely nothing wrong with what Kevin Fiala did at all. No advantage was gained by what he did. He was going to score that goal regardless. Cam Talbot wasn't in position. The rebound was there, and he put it in. The contact was incidental and had no effect on the play at all. And why the NHL can't take that into account and make the right call, I don't know. And I frankly think it's bad for the sport that they allow goals like that to not count. Now, that was the second call that went against the Kings. The Red Wings' second goal of the game, which made it 2-1 in the second period, was batted out of the air, I believe, with a high stick. Now, the call on the ice was a good goal, which I don't have much of a beef with. The referees have to make these calls real time, and it was close. But they also review these plays because they want to get the play right, which I'm in favor of course. So they review it, and yeah, it's close, but I thought it was relatively clear. And again, yes, it's close, but I thought the Detroit player has his stick above the height of the crossbar. Now, is it above the height of the crossbar by a foot? No. Is it by inches? Yes. But as they once said, for football, it's a game of inches, or probably other sports too. But I thought it was played by a high stick. I thought that goal should have been waved off. Yes, it was close. I thought, though, sometimes close calls are calls that go the other way. It's almost like, well, we called it a goal, and it's not clearly, without a doubt, the wrong call. It's just barely the wrong call. So we'll just stay with the call on the ice. So of the two reviews, I was more upset about the goalie interference call because, like I said, I hate that common sense doesn't prevail in this situation. But two big calls, both went against the Kings, and it definitely decided who got 2 points in this game and who didn't. Now, there was clearly a lot going on in this game. I thought overall the Kings' compete level in this game was very strong. They certainly didn't do everything right, but from an energy standpoint, from a compete standpoint, I thought the Kings definitely showed up about as well as they could have. There are some things you could point to, and we will talk about what the Kings could have done better. But again, those two calls were clearly a huge factor in the game. Afterwards, Kings head coach Jim Hiller was asked about it, and he said, quote, "The league looked at both of them. Detroit didn't have to challenge. They decided that they were both not in our favor. There's not much we can do about it. Yeah, I've got nothing else for you," end quote. Now, look, I don't want to be one of those guys that piles on Jim Hiller. There are plenty of those people out there on social media. He can do no right, and I don't think that's fair. And I get what he's doing here. Number one, it's over with, and there's nothing he can do to change it. And number two, if he complains about it, he's going to get fined by the league. But you know what? Sometimes you got to have your team's back. I think the guys in the room would have appreciated Jim Hiller saying, you know what, we got screwed out there and my guys deserved better. And yeah, it would have cost them a few $1,000s. But like I said, I think the team would have appreciated that. I think some of the fans would have appreciated that. And I get it. It's not my money to be fined and lose. But I don't know. I would have enjoyed hearing Jim Hiller say what he really felt, because I think it's pretty clear when he says that's all I got for you, or there's nothing else I have for you. What he's saying is, I want to say more, but I'm just not going to do it because it's not worth it. So I would like to have heard him say something. But anyway, we still have a lot to get to. We'll move past the controversy and look at what the Kings did and didn't do well in this game. We'll do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hockey season is officially here, but nothing beats going to the arena for an early season game. But let's be real. Sometimes it is frustrating, the process of trying to get tickets, waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is watch the game. That's where Gametime comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay for. No hidden fees at checkout. And I can see exactly the view I am going to get when I buy my tickets because of their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks the seat, and you save big. And you can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Tap, swipe, ticket, go. All right, let's get into some of the things that went down team-wise for the LA Kings in this 4-3 shootout loss to Detroit. Did want to check the lineup in this one because it was a bit different, and we'll get more into this a little bit later. But Warren Foegele missed his second straight game with an upper body injury, and Trevor Moore was also out of the lineup. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. The Kings decided to go with the 11-7 setup, 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. Jacob Moverar was the extra defenseman, but he hardly played at all. Corey Perry was moved up to the second line. We still had Joel Armia on the third line in place of Warren Foegele, and then they didn't replace Perry, who moved up on the second line to replace Trevor Moore. Actually, Trevor Moore's listed on here. He should not be on here. So we're gonna disregard the graphic if you're watching on YouTube. So again, Warren Foegele was out once again. Also, Trevor Moore was out as well, and the Kings were without an extra forward in this one as they went with the 11-7 setup. As for the game stats in this one, Detroit wins at 4-3 in a shootout. Shots on goal were in favor of the Kings, 38-27. Power plays, Kings were 0 for 4 with an asterisk next to it, while Detroit was 2 for 3. The Kings did have a shorthanded goal. Faceoffs favored the Kings 51.6% to 48.8%. Hits favored the Kings 17-11, and block shots favored Detroit 19-15. Want to check the defensive minutes in this one before we get to the special teams. And you know what? I'm going to reverse that. I'm going to call an audible here. We're going to go, let's check in on the special teams because I did talk about that. The Kings, for just the third time this season, had more power play opportunities than their opponent. But Their opponent scored on 2 of their 3 power play opportunities, while the Kings went 0 for 4. Again, it probably should have been 1 for 4 with the Fiala goal on the power play, but officially it was not. The Kings did have a shorthanded goal, but the Kings did score with the extra attacker late, and that doesn't go down as a power play goal, but it is scoring with an extra player. So it's very much like the power play. The Kings had their 5 forwards out there plus Drew Doughty. So, I think it's not a power play goal, but it's like a power play goal. And look, at some point the Kings, there were back-to-back power play opportunities the Kings had late in the game that they didn't score on, and at the time you thought, oh man, this is a huge missed opportunity. And then they come back and they score the 2 goals after pulling Darcy Kemper, and you kind of forget about that a little bit. But I'm not panicking about the power play. I still think it looks good. I still think it looks dangerous. I still think they're moving the puck around well. I think they're getting a lot of decent zone time. I think the argument against would be that there's too much sizzle and not enough steak, that it looks good and they're moving it around and they're having it in the zone. But when it's all said and done, it is about lighting the lamp and putting the puck in the net. And that's true. Results are ultimately what matters. And if they don't get the results going forward, they will eventually try something else, as they should. I personally don't think that time is now. Like I said, I still like the 5 forwards. I still think it's dangerous. I still think it could be effective. They did get some opportunities in this one, and they didn't score on all of them. But I'm personally not ready to move away from the 5 forwards. I still think it can work, and I think they should stick with that for now. As far as being shorthanded and taking bad penalties, the Kings did have some careless penalties once again. First period, Philip Deneau's called for a trip. The Kings did do a good job killing it off, but that was a very preventable penalty. Second period, Kevin Fiala is called for a trip in the offensive zone. I thought real time, it looked absolutely like a trip. They showed the replay, and then it kind of was like, oh, he's going for the puck, and maybe it wasn't quite as bad as it looked, but still, you get your stick into another player's skates, and you are putting yourself in a position to get a penalty called on you. Detroit did score on that power play to tie the game at 1-1. Joel Edmondson was called for a cross-check in front of the Kings net. I thought it was another bad penalty. The Kings did kill that one off. LA did not take a penalty in the third period, and they did not take a penalty in overtime. And you might be wondering, so if Kevin Fiala is called for goalie interference, why do they not call a penalty on him? Well, ironically, the referees are allowed to use their judgment when deciding if a goalie interference call should result in a power play or not. So essentially, what the referees ruled on Kevin Fiala's goalie interference was that it was incidental contact. And that's why no penalty was called. So how does it make any sense that you can say, oh, it's incidental contact, so it doesn't result in the penalty, but it does wave off a goal? That doesn't make any sense to me. But that's just me. But still some preventable penalties for the LA Kings. Jim Hiller was asked about the special teams after the game, and he said, quote, "It's very frustrating. I mean, I guess the encouraging part is you can see where the issues lie. That's pretty clear to us where the issues lie." End quote. Well, it's great to know what the problem is, but it's solving the problem that is the issue here. Overall, I'm sure that everyone was disappointed with the result. I was not necessarily disappointed in the performance by the Kings. If a call or two goes the other way, maybe there's a different result. I am disappointed, probably not as much as the people who were actually at the arena for the game, that the Kings are still trying to figure it out on home ice. But that is the case. One thing I think we can all be happy about, and it's the defensive minutes in this one, at least to a point. It's like we could never have it all, but Brent Clark played his most minutes of the season. He played 20 minutes and 14 seconds. That was second most of all the Kings defensemen. And yes, they had some extra power play opportunities, so that helped his minutes a bit. But you still had Drew Doughty play 27 minutes and 8 seconds. I think that's a season high for him. Brian Dumoulin played 17 minutes and 40 seconds. Joel Edmondson played 15 minutes and 35 seconds. Cody Cece, 15 minutes and 25 seconds. Mikey Anderson, 15 minutes and 24 seconds. And Jacob Overar had a good seat on the bench. He played 3 minutes and 13 seconds. So I am very happy to see the minutes that Brant Clark got in this game. I hope we see something similar going forward. But I don't like Drew Doughty playing that much, and I don't like the rest of the guys not playing enough. So I'm not trying to come off as someone who can't ever be pleased. But I don't know. I just feel like I mean, I'll just go ahead and say I'm encouraged Brant Clark got those minutes, and we'll just leave it at that. So hopefully we see that going forward. Jim Hiller did say in the morning skate that Brant Clark needs to get more minutes. So that's good that he finally came to that realization, and it's good that we saw the result of that in this game. All right. The Kings were missing a key piece in their lineup, and we also want to get into some of the individuals from this game. We'll do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next point to some fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps the games exciting, especially if your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's get into some of the individual performances for the Kings. Did want to start, though, with Trevor Moore. It was a bit of a surprise that they announced right before the game he was not playing due to what was described as personal reasons. Now, I'm not going to speculate as to what this was. I will just say we have seen this in the past when a player has had the birth of a child. I have no idea if Trevor Moore is even married or expecting a child, so I will plead ignorance on that. Hopefully, whatever it is, it is something that's positive, and he will be able to return to the team soon. Darcy Kemper, I thought, was very good in net once again. I thought once again he was better than necessarily what the box scores showed. He allowed 3 goals on 27 shots, but he had several high-quality saves. He stopped Mason Raymond on a breakaway. As for the goals that were scored on him, the first one was on the power play. You could argue it was stoppable. Kemper was moving from his right to his left, and he just couldn't get over to stop it. It was not an easy save, but it also wasn't an impossible save for Darcy Kemper. Second goal, I believe, was knocked into the net with a high stick. Regardless if that was legal or not, that's almost impossible for a goalie to stop. And the third goal was kind of a 3-on-2 break. Adrian Kempe was back on defense for Brant Clark, covering for him, but he let the pass get through him, and then Joel Edmondson didn't cover the trailer who scores. So the defense let Kemper down on that one. I tried to look at what Darcy Kemper's record was career-wise in a shootout. I couldn't find that, but my eyeball test when I watch him is like, he's not that great in shootouts for whatever reason, which is kind of odd. But I did see that since he's rejoined the Kings, so last year and so far this year, he is 0 for 5 in shootouts. But I still thought Darcy Kemper had a very strong game. Corey Perry, first home game for him in an LA Kings uniform was memorable. 2 goals in 40 seconds with the goalie pulled to help salvage a point out of it for the Kings. His first putback was a terrific move around the goalie's pads and into the net. The second one, I didn't know he scored, and I even watched the replay several times, and I still didn't see it, but apparently it went off his stick on a shot by Quentin Byfield from the slot. So Corey Perry in 6 games now has 5 goals and 7 points. Remember when I talked about how great of a storyline it would be if Corey Perry would help the Kings kind of get on track? Well, they are 4-0-2 in the 6 games that Corey Perry has played in. Quentin Byfield finished with 2 assists. I thought that he had that game-tying goal in the third period. Turns out he gets the the assist on it, as apparently it deflected off Perry's stick. Q did celebrate like he thought he scored, and that's why I thought he did. Byfield was, I thought, very active all game long. He had an assist as well. Drew the power play in overtime when Kevin Fiala scored and then didn't score. And he had some really nice stick handling moves. He's skating with confidence. I wish he would have gotten that goal and not Perry, frankly, because I thought it would have helped his confidence a bit. But Quentin Byfield, very active all over the place in this one. So was Kevin Fiala. Thought he started really strong. He did finish with 1 assist. He should have had a goal as well, in my opinion. But this was probably as active as I've seen him all year long. Led the team with 7 shots on goal. He just seemed to have more jump in this game than in other games recently. And with the Kings going with 11 forwards, it was pretty clear that Jim Hiller wanted some extra offense in the lineup. So guys like Kevin Fiala were getting those extra minutes playing on the 4th line. He did have that careless tripping call against him, but I thought Kevin did play, for the most part, a pretty good game. Alex Laferriere had the Kings' first goal, and I like that he's been getting some time on the penalty kill. I think he does a pretty good job with that. Scored on a beautiful backhand shot shorthanded, the Kings' 3rd shorthanded goal of the season. Of course, they've been shorthanded a lot, so there's more opportunities for shorthanded goals. But Laferriere, a nice backhand shot. He's got a nice backhand shot. His second, he scored 3 goals this year. 2 of them have been on that pretty backhand shot. So nice goal by Alex Laferriere. Adrian Kempe had an assist, so he still has the team lead in assists and points with 10 assists, 15 points overall. Anze Kopitar had an assist on the game-tying goal. He now has 1,283 career points. He is 25 away from passing Marcel Dion to become the LA Kings all-time leading scorer. He did also win some big face-offs late in the game when the Kings were trying to tie it up when the goalie was pulled. Finished winning 12 of 19 face-offs, 63.2% to lead the team. I had called for Jeff Malott to be benched in this game because of the bad penalties he took against San Jose, and I thought that Jim Hiller needed to send a message to the roster. That didn't happen. I don't know if Trevor Moore being out of the lineup maybe affected that decision, if Hiller even considered that. I don't know that he did. That was just me talking. But Jeff Malott did play in this game. Quick look at the overall individual stats. You had Corey Perry and Quentin Byfield each had multi-point games to 2 points. Kevin Fiala, 7 shots on goal to lead the team. Adrian Kempe had 6, and Joel Edmondson had 5. Brant Clark had 4 block shots. 7 different Kings had 2 hits. Told you the time on ice leader was Drew Doughty, 27 minutes, 8 seconds. Adrian Kempe played 26 minutes and 25 seconds. And as I mentioned, Anze Kopitar, 12 of 19 in the faceoff circle, as he was the best player on faceoffs for the LA Kings. All right, a lot going on in that game. The Kings at least get a point out of it, but certainly with the calls that went against them, felt like it probably should have been 2. Still waiting to see them get that first home win of the year, and they will have another tough game coming up on Saturday as the New Jersey Devils are coming to town, a team that just lost to the San Jose Sharks, so they're probably going to be a little bit upset coming into this game against the Kings. So the Kings have that to deal with. All right, for you everydayers, those you listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on our next show, it is our weekly fan feedback show, your chance to get anything off your chest, comment about anything going on with the LA Kings. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. If you're watching on YouTube, you're always welcome to post your comments in the comments section. We appreciate that, and we'd love you to stay connected with the show on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X. It's all at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings go.